A very good evening to all our viewers and attendees who are watching us live in our Facebook and YouTube. A very warm welcome to this new initiative called Other Saga series of Pick a Book India. Okay, a quick recap for our lovely audience. What Pick a Book is all about. For those of you who are new to Pick a Book, it's all about reading and more reading and inculcating the habit of reading, research, and presenting the summary of it in our regular meeting sessions. Creating a better world by changing the sense of self through the habit of reading is the vision of Pick a Book. Currently, Pick a Book marked its inspiring presence in 4 countries, Sri Lanka, India, Singapore, and UK, with over 600 plus readers, 18 regions, 30,000 plus people inspired through these sessions in just a span of 1 year. Pick a Book continues to spread its wings across the globe. We have come up with a new initiative called Author Saga series, wherein the authors can reach their readers and individuals with like-minded interests. They can also discuss the key insights of their books, and the readers can have this wonderful opportunity to know more about the book from the author himself. So without much waiting, the author who is joining us today is an Indian author who has a bachelor's and master's degree in computer science and currently resides in Dallas, USA. His literary exploration started with poetry and quickly moved to telling stories with morally grey characters. Goutam has a fascination towards a progressive rock artists like Steven Wilson, Gavin Harrison, and David Gilmour. He plays guitar during the times of stress and writes stories to ease his mind. He practices mixed martial arts because it comes closest to letting out the steam in the most optimal way. He also works full-time at a company based in USA where he writes softwares. It's interesting to know that someone who writes software can actually write books as well. And that is Mr. Goutam Venkatesh for you, ladies and gentlemen, the author of the book Spirits of the Soul. Welcome, Goutam.
Hey, Swarna. Thanks for having me here. It's really an honor to be here. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to have you too. So it's a great intro about you, Goutam. It's interesting to know that one who can write the software can write the book as well. So it's going to be an inspiration for a lot of the software developers or software writers over there. Get inspired from him and start putting your thoughts into words.
I think only engineers can do other things, right? Only engineers have the capabilities of doing other things.
Exactly. So where are you from, Goutam? Just to know a little bit more about you. Where are you from?
Sure. I'm from Bangalore in India. So I grew up there. I'm a proper Bangalorean. So if you hear any terms or slangs that sound very Bangalorean, so that's not a coincidence. So I hail from there. I moved to Houston to do my master's, and now I'm in Dallas. I'm just working here in Dallas right now.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, first of all, let me congratulate you on your first book, and glad to know that it was published on August 15th, 2020, if I'm not wrong.
That's right.
Yeah. Releasing a book in the midst of pandemic and on such a good date, India's Independence Day. Any interesting story behind that?
No, there was not. Actually, that was a coincidence. But the only thing I had in my mind was to just finish the book and get it out there as soon as I could. If I could, I would actually have moved it much later. I would have made it even December last year. But I was like, it is what it is, and I just put it out there. It just happened to be on August 15th. So yeah.
Okay. So how long did you take to write this whole book? Finish the whole book?
Man, yeah. Well, I actually started writing it 5 years ago. But at the time when I started writing it, I did not really realize that I was putting together a book. I was just writing for the sake of it. It's only, I think, early 2019 is when I realized, okay, all these stories can actually be combined into an anthology. Mm-hmm. And the idea of having a book that houses all these stories came to my mind. But it was only by the end of 2019 that everything started to come together. And the pandemic gave me some time to really sit down and
Right.
think about it. Yeah, there was no time to do any other thing except work and just pass time or do something with your life. So I just had time to sit down and think about this. So
That's
yeah,
great. That's great.
so
So
yeah.
pandemic is not a typical pandemic for you then.
Yeah, yeah.
It went in
But right
interest.
now I've become lazy. Right now I've become lazy, so I need to get back there again. So I just thought, okay, August 15th I released the book, and I've been just lazy throughout. Now I have to get back out there again.
Okay. So are you an avid reader, Gautam, by the way?
I mean, I read, definitely I read, but
Mhm.
I've seen some people, the definition of an avid reader, they do justice to that. I don't think I do justice to that. I have my cousin here who's my roommate. He is an avid reader. He reads books and digests them faster than I can say book. So maybe I'm not like that. People read 12, 15 books a year. I cannot do that. I right now I do more of non-fiction. I
Okay.
read biographies, autobiographies. So I like to sit down with one book, one persona, and then sit with them for like a good 3, 4 months until I
Okay.
brush through that one book.
Okay.
So maybe not an avid reader, but I definitely read.
When this all started, I mean, have you started reading books at a very early age, or how was your
Oh
reading
yeah.
start?
Yeah, that's right. It started at an early age. I read a lot of books around Enid Blyton, the famous five series, the secret, the mystery series,
Yeah.
Goosebumps. All of these were my childhood favorites.
Okay.
And as I grew a little older, maybe like eighth, ninth, 10th grade, Sherlock Holmes was introduced to me.
Okay.
Um, so the whole Sherlock Holmes series was like one of my favorite series to read. And then only then I was introduced to nonfiction. I got more interested in that. So a lot of autobiographies. So yeah, I started digesting that more. So right now I'm just into nonfiction completely. Pick a persona, read about them. That's all I do right now.
That's great. That's great.
Yep.
If I want you to pick your most favorite autobiography, what would that be?
Oh man, Steve Jobs biography, hands down, hands down. That
Yeah,
book changed my life. That book changed my life.
great. That's
Yep,
that's what reading is all about. So if
absolutely.
I want to ask you why you read, you know, what would be your perfect answer for that? Why you read?
Perfect answer to that. Okay, I have two answers, one for fiction and one for non-fiction, right? So I guess for fiction, when I'm reading about a certain world, a certain character that's real, not real, whatever it is, I get teleported to that entire world. I get to imagine, I get to play that picture in my own head and imagine it the way I will. What that person looks like, I get to imagine that and play it like a movie almost in my head. I
Okay.
get to decide how long it is. I get to decide how detailed it is. So that I like watching that picture to go in my head in terms of fiction. In terms of non-fiction, man, there's so many things to learn from all these people that have achieved so much. We
Exactly.
just look at Steve Jobs, for example, and then we just talk about one thing, Apple and whatever, right? But there's so many intricacies to what makes a person him, and I get to really deep dive into that character and learn whatever I can about him and inculcate it in my own life. Try to at least. So that's why I like reading nonfiction. So I guess that's why I read.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that lovely answer. In
Yeah,
fact, that is why we are connected this way through Pick a Book.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the true
absolutely.
sense of why we are here today.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's now get to know something more about the book from the book with the author himself. Okay, here goes my first question. Why is this title in first place? For this book, and what
Right.
can a reader expect from this, Gautam?
Right. So the whole concept of spirits of the soul is that every human, right, we all think about us as black and white characters, in the sense that we're all good or bad, we're all angry or not angry, we're kind or cruel. We tend to think about it in that black and white terms. But in reality, even though people are good, like let's just assume that people are good, there's a lot of other emotions in them that fall in that gray area, right? There are a whole range of emotions. This is not 0 and 1. They're not black and white. They're not this or that. It's a whole range of emotions. Even though they're good, they can be super angry and they take it out in a particular way that's probably not desirable. Um, so the whole concept of moral grayness, right, that came to my mind, and I realized that a human, including myself, especially myself for that matter, I'm a whole range of that personality traits or emotions or whatever it is. So all these are the spirits of my soul. So that's the whole concept of the book. So if a soul could be separated into its fundamental traits and fundamental emotions, what would they look like?
Oh,
Um, and if I segregated it, how would I really understand each of those emotions, each of those traits in its true sense? So that's why the title is Spirits of the Soul.
this is so
Yeah.
very nice, very interesting, very
Yeah.
interesting title. And even more interesting is, the way the characters are portrayed, or the way you have given a meaning for emotions, connecting with the
That's
soul.
right.
That's good. So, okay, at what stage in your life or career you thought of putting your thoughts into words? What motivated you, or who motivated you, or for that matter, should we consider it as a career shift or a passion writing, or just a passion writing?
Who motivated me, or what motivated me?
Yeah, what motivated you? Who motivated you? Whoever it is, what's your inspiration or
Right.
motivation behind? And is this a career shift or just a passion writing?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if it can be a career shift. It depends. If you guys, if through your organization, if like millions of people end up buying the book, then I can definitely make this career shift. But maybe not right now. I mean, I have that awareness that okay, although I do want to do this, things have to pay my bills. So unless they start paying my bills, then yeah, I until then I will not have that career shift.
Okay.
But talking about what motivated me,
Mhm.
I guess for me, art has all. I've always had that artistic orientation.
Okay.
Be it music. That's why I'm also inclined to music a lot. I tend to understand music better than a lot of people. I tend to delve deep into the lyrics of it, how the music was made.
Mhm.
So I think I have an artistic personality. I have that orientation at least.
Okay.
That trait allowed me to explore a little bit of my poetry side, although I'm terrible at it. I did begin a little of poetry writing, and then I realized that I needed more room, more space, more words to put down my thoughts, what I really think about a certain situation. In
Okay.
fact, my first ever writing was me and my mom sitting in a balcony, and my mom would make coffee for me and herself. We would sit in the balcony and talk about life, and she would give me all these lectures, bombard all these lectures onto me. As a young engineering student, I was annoyed by it, but I would come back home and then I would sit and start writing about it from a third person's perspective and
Okay.
make it into a story, right? So that was my first ever writing, which was absolutely terrible. But that got me thinking, okay, I can actually weave my own stories and create my own characters, create my own story, and just tell a moral if there is a moral, or just go from point A to point B to point Z, and then tell that story and develop the characters and make a person feel certain things that I want them to feel. So that was the whole motivation behind it.
Absolutely awesome. So your
Yeah.
mother is your first inspiration then.
Yeah, I guess so. Please
You,
don't tell my mom that. Please don't tell my mom that. No, actually, I will tell my mom that.
yeah. To be
Then she'll
sure.
be like, I told you so. She'll be like, I told you so, and make me listen to everything she says.
That's great to know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I understood that this book is a collection of 10 different stories. From 10 different perspectives. are these characters or characterization from the book is inspired from real-time experiences or just born out of your imagination?
Yeah, I think any writing, any form of art, when people write a movie also, right? I think it's impossible to write a character without having the author's image of themselves within it.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure, yeah, all the characters definitely have a certain essence of me in them for sure. But
Okay.
at the same time, it also has essences of other people that I know in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
um, it could be that the same person, the same character has certain traits of me and certain traits of some other person in them. So yeah, for sure, it's definitely inspired by people that I know and even myself. But it's certainly not them in a whole sense. It's not. I've not based the whole character on them. That's not that. But yeah, certain essences are there.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. So obviously, I mean, when you experience something, it's more easier, more intense while writing. So that gives a true flavor for that book.
For
Um,
sure, yeah.
yeah. Okay, and also I just got to hear or got to read that in your words, it's an exploration. This book is an exploration into building blocks of human emotions or characters, and and you said that we can experience the roller coaster journeys set in the world not bound by time, place, or culture.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, tricky. So, what I mean by that is, if you look at my stories, one story is set in the first story that you come across in the book. It's called Shipwrecked, right? So, Shipwrecked is set in old Norway. So, I think that's like 400, rewind 400, 500 years from the year 2021. And that is when the story is set, and it's set in Norway, in olden Norway, and it also includes part of the northern part of Africa. So it's set in that geography and that particular time in our universe. And you finish that story, and then you move on to the next story, and now that's suddenly set in modern world 2020, in India, within the urban parts of Bangalore over there. So it's set in that. So suddenly you make that jump of 500 years, and from Norway to India, and then again you go back to, if you watch Game of Thrones or Vikings or something like that. It another story set in that sort of period. It's set in like 600, 700 AD,
Okay.
that time period where kings ruled, where there was monarchy, when there were knights and princesses and queens and kings, and it's set in
Oh,
that period. So yeah, so it keeps making those jumps across time, across geography, just to let you guys know, the readers know, that human behavior, no matter what the place is, no matter what the time is, we're all the same. Even from the time of the Mahabharata, from until Jesus was born until now, we're all the same people. We don't. There's very little change in how we behave as a species. So that's the whole point.
awesome. Very nice. A very nice
Yeah.
perspective of looking at actually,
Yeah.
making more. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I haven't, come across this kind of perspective. Like you have joined, somewhere around before AD, from the
Yeah.
Mahabharata, from the king's time to the present time, right from the Bangalore
Yeah.
itself. So that's an
Yeah.
interesting combination. So one must
Yeah.
definitely read it to experience it. Actually,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
emotions. Now I understand the true meaning of roller coaster ride. It is definitely a roller coaster ride for sure. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for that. And yeah, does this story typically being an Indian, we know how the Indian stories or how the Indian films or whatever it is that Indian culture goes. Like we generally tend to like to go for happy endings. So
Oh.
yeah, so does your stories have good endings or sad endings? How has it been written?
Yeah, so if you are the person who prefers happy endings, my book is not the book for you, because to disappoint all of those kinds of readers, my book does not have all. To be fair, I think at best it has a bittersweet ending, I would say.
Okay.
um, and yeah, I mean, usually, a lot of the stories in my book have bittersweet endings, right? To be honest, it has bittersweet endings. You particularly will not be thrilled that it did not end in a particular way. You probably would want it to end in a particular way, but
Okay.
it most likely will not end in that way, simply to mimic life. And so, in fact, while writing it, I did think about all those multiple scenarios, multiple endings, where it was good or bad or bittersweet, or in that confusing cliffhanger, or set it up for a part two, something like that. Considered all of those endings, multiple endings, and I wrote all of them as well. So I wrote all of the multiple endings. It's just that I end up liking the bittersweet endings more, simply because they seemed more real. And so I looked at the happy ending, and it seemed too good to be true. It almost seemed like a utopia, and I just it did not appeal to me. It did not mimic life as we know it. So I just went with the bittersweet endings for pretty much all of the stories that are in this right now. The only one that you'll see a happy ending is where the story is actually set up for a part two of that.
Okay.
So that's the only place where you'll see a happy ending of sorts. But yeah, otherwise it's a bittersweet ending, just to mimic life as we know it.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's an interesting as well, because the journey must, because not every ending is happy. In practical way to see it, to look at it, it's not every ending is a happy ending. But then the journey
For
can
sure.
be as sweet as well. So
Sure.
definitely 10 different stories should have 10 different endings. We can't expect happy ending in everything, for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can't
Yeah.
wait to read this book, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to buy this book, how do we do that? Where can we buy this book? You
So
have
it's on yeah. So it's on Amazon for any non-Indian folk. It's on Amazon, and
okay,
for any the Indian subcontinent region, if they want to buy it, there's a different link to that. It's on this platform called Pothi, Pothi.
yeah,
So any Indians or any the Indian subcontinent folks, if you want to buy it, it's on the platform called Pothi. Any non-Indians, it's on Amazon. I've consolidated all of those into one single web page. You guys can head to tinyurl.com space buy hyphen spirits of the soul. I'm sure you guys can share the link with that too. So
don't
yeah,
worry,
that
guys. Sure. Thanks for that.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
guys, we will be sharing the link where you can buy this for sure. So grab the book immediately and start reading it. I'm sure you enjoy reading it. I'm sure, because you can travel the places and the 80s as well. So start doing it. Okay, moving on to my next question. Is there a message in each story, Gautam, or are the things just happening?
Yeah, a bit of both, I would say. So things are not just happening. Um, the whole point, the concept of writing my stories, apart from the whole spirits of the soul concept, is that I wanted to develop the characters. Right, they have to go from point A to point B and then to another point. Right. So how do they? What is their motivation? Why did they make the decisions that they make? And are the external situations making them pick that particular option in life, or do they want to do it? Are they motivated to do it by themselves? So looking at that character's journey, right, even though the story is a little hazy, sometimes you won't know what the story is until you get to the last page of that book. Until then, things will just seem like it's happening, only until at the end all ties together and it hits you like a eureka moment. But more for the most of that, it's the character's journey. It almost seems like you are going through that, and you are making the choices that led the character this one particular point where it all ties together at the end. So that's
Okay.
I've tried not to give out morals in the book because
Mm-hmm.
I am in that journey of learning the morals myself. So, and I'm not
Okay.
really at that authority level where I dictate or preach moral, this is right or this is wrong, whatever. Instead,
Okay.
I leave that to the readers, right? A lot of stories you interpret it yourself, like whether that was wrong or whether that was right.
Yeah.
You can interpret that yourself. There's one story where the characters I introduced two characters. One of them is like the typical good character, and one of them is a typical bad character. But as time
Okay.
goes on, they switch roles. That good guy becomes starts showing all these terrible signs in him that you think, wait, that was not right. I don't like this guy anymore. And the bad guy suddenly seems good now. So the story ends at a place where I could end up liking that one character, and I'll interpret the story in this way. But you, based on how you are built, your personality is, you could like the other guy more, and you'll interpret the story in another way. So
Yes.
that's the whole. I've done that consciously for pretty much all the stories, and try to refrain from giving out any morals as such. So yeah,
I totally agree with it on this because in today's world,
yeah,
especially people have got different mindsets and different
yeah,
take on each character.
for sure.
Yeah. So Gautam, it's like each story has been said it in a chapter, or else how is it put in the book? Each story forms a chapter.
That's right. So
Okay.
how it's structured is, so each, like I said right in the beginning, I talked about different emotions, different character traits
Mhm.
within a person. So
Okay.
for example, one of them is determination, right? Determination is one of our traits.
Mhm.
Revenge is also something that we feel, and
Okay.
love is something that we feel, right?
Okay.
So what I've done is, under determination, there's one story that I've written that also has its own name. It's just not named determination. So there's a story that has its own name that's under that particular trait called determination,
Okay.
where the whole story the whole story, it happens, you read it, and then at the end you realize, you sort of get a better understanding of what it
Mhm.
means to be more determined. Like I can give you a dictionary definition of what determination means, but what does it really mean to be living that life, right? What does it mean to be determined in real life when
Mhm.
there's 100 things putting you down, when the bricks thrown at you? How do you be determined? What does that mean?
Mhm.
What does it look like in real life?
Okay.
So that's what I've done. That's how it's structured. And under love, there are, like, I think two stories under love, and then under hope there's one story, under revenge there's one story, and under courage there's one story. So like this, there are, I think there are 7 or 8 emotions traits that I've identified, and under these emotions or traits I have a total of 10 stories that fall under this.
Okay. So
So
if
that's how
I
it's
may
structured.
ask you, if yeah, thanks for that. And if I may ask you, have to ask you, which is your most favorite? Like when you have started writing and putting it in the words, which one has been more connected to you personally, or which trait of which emotion? And
Which,
you
let me
found it
see.
easy in writing. You found it easy in writing or putting in
Oh,
words.
easy to write. Uh, okay, so if you go to the book, there's this chapter 2 under revenge, called "The Boy and the Distant Man."
Hmm.
That was by far, I think it was pretty easy for me to write. It just came as a flow for me to write.
Okay.
It has nothing fancy in it. It all set in modern day.
Hmm.
Um, it's actually set in Bangalore. The way I imagined it, it was set in Bangalore. Nothing fancy, nothing. There's no cool gadgets or no cool kings and queens or whatever. It's normal people going in the normal days, but there are events happening. I can't give out spoilers, but this is one of those stories that have like very moral gray aspects. I just went to the peak of that moral grayness in that particular chapter. So that's by far my favorite, I would say.
Okay. So which took a lot of time. I mean, you literally took a lot of time to,
Yeah.
portray that. Which one of that is that?
The thing that took a lot of time was chapter one, which is called Shipwrecked. That was
Okay.
because Shipwrecked, like I said, is set in old Norway and certain parts of northern parts of Africa.
Okay.
It took a lot of research for me because it involves like a big ship, like a crew. It takes a crew to man it. It takes a captain to decide where the destination is. What are the commands that are supposed to be given? What are the terms that they use? And how does a ship move when there's a wave? What does a crew think like when there's a wave? And do they face it up front, or do they face it sideways, or do they try to get away from it? A
Okay.
lot of research to be done over there. It took me almost 6 7 months to write just that one story, I would say. So that was by far the hardest because that's also a science fiction based
Mhm.
story. So I'm gonna hit you with science fiction right at chapter one. So be
Oh,
prepared for that.
I understand that. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay, and okay, we almost coming to the end of the session. And to ask you my last question, uh, how? I mean, what's running in your mind now? Another book, or just enjoying the your publishing right now, or the success of your first book, or being tagged as an author? Which is more exciting for you, and what's currently running in your mind?
No, for sure. It's nice to be known as an author for sure. Not gonna lie over there.
Okay.
But yeah, I am thinking about thinking about what the next book is going to be. In fact, this was supposed to be part one, and I was supposed to be putting out a part two. But I think I'm gonna make it a little different. I'm not sure yet. Um, that's the goal for this year. I have to start putting together the next version of whatever I'm gonna write. I have to decide whether it's gonna be Spirits of the Soul Part Two, or whether it's gonna be something else. I have to think about it. I'm even thinking about writing a full-fledged novel itself, but that takes a lot of work. Oh my god, that takes a lot of work. I really respect all the authors out there. I do not know how they it's just a lot of work because I can imagine just putting out one story took me a lot of time. Putting
Exactly.
out one whole book is like a feat in itself. So I'm also thinking about that. I'm just figuring things out in my own life as I go.
Okay.
Even I'm flawed, as you know. So yeah, I'm figuring it out as I go. So yeah, so to answer that, so yeah, I am thinking about what the next book is going to be
Okay.
as I go through this year. So that's the end goal of it.
Thank you, Gautam.
Did I
And
answer your question or did I confuse you more?
oh yeah, thank you so much for that. And we are thankful that you have taken time to come up onto the show. And we from Pick a Book, all of viewers and everybody from Pick a Book community, we wish you all the very best for whatever your future endeavors are and whatever you want to do in life as an author, as a person, or we wish you all the very best. And
Thank you so much. And Pick a Book has been super supportive for me. I remember a couple months ago we had the first session, I think with Pick a Book,
yes,
and you guys have been super supportive to me. So thank you so much for that. I hope this keeps happening time and time again. So yeah, I
yes.
really hope. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. We will soon have you with a full-fledged book novel by this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the best. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the session, and once again, Pick a Book is all about reading and inspiring everybody to get into this wonderful golden habit of reading. Um, so, yeah, so thank you so much for that, and thank you, Gautam. If at all, any of you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be a part of Pick a Book global community of readers, please join us and inspire more and more people around you to do it as well. If you are excited to bring Pick a Book in your city, please email us. Thank you. And thank you, Gautam, for joining us. And to my dear audience, please buy this book from the link provided and enjoy reading it. We will be posting the link in a while. And thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.